The store with you on NFL. I've got Jeremy Fowler. Thank you for being here, by the way. I've needed a friend in the studio. And as always, we're grateful to Sam Macho and Bill Barnwell for joining us today. Guys, let's get started with the team we are going to get to know very well this offseason, and that would be the Chicago Bears, who will be featured on Hard Knocks for the first time ever with the #1 overall pick, Caleb Williams, coming out of USC. Hey, come on. He's got used to the spotlight coming from L.A. Here's his head coach, Matt Eberflus.
They were excited about it, because we have a good thing going here. We got a good brotherhood, a good mindset. Obviously you guys have heard about our culture and how tight we are as a group. And that showed at the end of last year, and it showed through adversity, and that's going to show again this year.
Do you think Caleb, as a rookie quarterback, is uniquely suited for something like this because of all the focus that's been on him for so many years?
Yeah, I do. I really do. And that's a very good point. And I do think he's suited for that because he's comfortable in his own skin. He knows who he is. And again, he's been out there for several years in terms of, in the media, in the focus, the Heisman winner, all those things that he's done. And he'll be good.
Yeah, if there's anybody suited to the spotlight, it could be Caleb Williams. Well, ESPN Analytics gives the Bears a 42% chance to make the playoffs. That ranks 8th in the NFC. As you know, 7 teams make the playoffs, meaning the Bears would be the first team out. Now, in order to make the playoffs, the Bears are going to have to overcome a trend because of the previous 9 teams to appear on the training camp version of Hard Knocks. 7 of them have missed the playoffs, which includes a couple of teams that, like the Bears, had a rookie quarterback, #1 overall pick. That would be 2018, the Browns with Baker Mayfield, and 2016, the Rams with Jared Goff. They're the first team to report to training camp, actually, because they're playing in that Hall of Fame game with the Texans. How are they getting ready, Caleb Williams, for the show? What's the main plot line going to be here on Hard Knocks, Jeremy?
Yeah, Hannah, well, Caleb Williams, 2 things. He's trying to get used to playing under center. Didn't do a lot of that USC. I'm told he's loving it so far. I talked to his personal quarterbacks coach, Will Hewlett, who trained him pre-draft. He said since early April, Williams has been embarked on the entire Bears offense, the footwork, the cadences, the strategy. He knows that's going to protect him with heavy play action. And then this is a quarterback I'm told is trying to use that cannon in May and early June in OTAs, work the kinks out, see what he can actually get away with. Try to thread the needle in between 2 defensive backs, see if he can get it there. As somebody with the team told me, we want him to make mistakes right now and have some up and downs so that in September he's ready to go.
Of course, we need that plot line, right, Jeremy? We need some drama coming up if they're going to be on Hard Knocks. And he's not the only star. Obviously, they take Rome Odunze in the top 10, but they pass on an edge rusher. Bill, what did you make of that decision?
Was a little surprised, Hannah, because you look at what their roster has, plenty of help at receiver, not so much at edge rusher. And the defense last year was the story in the second half of the season. They were the best defense in football in terms of scoring defense. But take a closer look at the numbers there, mostly fueled by a great turnover rate, which is tough to sustain year after year. Even after adding Montez Sweat at the trade deadline, they were below average in both sack rate and pressure rate during that second half run a year ago. So surprised they didn't make a more major addition to the roster at edge rusher. I know they love Montez Sweat. They have DeMarcus Walker coming back. I know they think they're going to create pressure with some more blitzes, things like that. But kind of felt like that was maybe one of the 2 glaring spots on this roster, the checklist the Bears did not check off this offseason.
Well, I think the reason you didn't check it off at number 9, Bill, is that Rome Odunze was #1, too good to pass up, and #2, too good of a fit for Caleb Williams. But I think they did address it in the offseason in a couple ways. They got a 5th-round pick, and Austin Booker had 8 sacks at Kansas last year, but also not just on the front line, on the back end. They went and got Kevin Byard, who since his entrance in the NFL is top 3 in interceptions. And so we always talk about in football how the front and coverage work together. Well, having a better safety back in the back end, signing Jalen Johnson, having Tyreek Stevenson, an up-and-coming young superstar, all of a sudden it'll help that edge rush get to the quarterback. And so I look at Kevin Byard, 28 picks since 2016. I look at re-signing Jalen Johnson, one of the best corners in the game, and then Tyreek Stevenson. I think that'll actually help the rush all season long.
Yeah, Sam, the Bears love their roster as it stands. They're still looking at edge rusher. They know they probably need one more guy. Love Montez Sweat, DeMarcus Walker. Free agency's pretty thin. You got guys like Tyus Bowser, Emmanuel Ogbah, Yannick Ngakoue they had last year. They didn't sign him till training camp early August. So they're sort of waiting to see what develops, see if somebody's at a good bargain. But for the most part, everywhere else they feel really good. And this might be finally the time where they get a 4,000-yard passer. They're loaded up on offense. They're saying the days of the Bears stinking on offense is going to be done.
Really? Okay. The days of the Bears stinking on offense is going to be
That's
done.
what they're hoping. I mean, they've added a lot of pieces.
That is as straightforward as it gets. All right. Let's go to the offense of the Baltimore Ravens, because there hasn't been a lot of Jackson action for the Ravens at OTAs. The reigning NFL MVP has not attended 5 of the team's 6 voluntary workouts, including missing today. He also missed the start of OTAs the last 2 seasons. As you know, he's entering the 2nd year of that $260 million contract. Here's Jim Harbaugh.
It's this time of year. It's a voluntary time. It's really not something that we comment on. We can't. And that's just the time of year it is. So I can't speak for anybody that's not here. I pretty much know the different reasons guys aren't here most of the time, but not always. Nobody's required to tell you exactly what's going on. So I'm not really specifically going to be able to comment on anybody that way.
Yeah, I don't know really what he's supposed to say there. Sam, is this more about optics, or does it actually concern you that he's not there?
No, I have no concerns at all, Hannah. Why? Because OTAs, there's one word, the operative word in OTAs is voluntary. It's voluntary organized team activities, meaning it's not mandatory. Now, in a couple weeks, there'll be a mandatory minicamp, but this is the voluntary time of the offseason as negotiated through the collective bargaining agreement. And so I have no issues with Lamar not being there. John Harbaugh has no issues with Lamar Jackson not being there. And also, Lamar Jackson has been there for some OTAs for the last several years and has still played great. It's not like he's learning a new offense with a ton of new weapons. It's going to be a similar offense as last year, and it's voluntary, not mandatory.
Voluntary is the essential piece there. And last year, maybe it meant more. It was a new offense, to Sam's point. With Todd Monken coming in, they had 2 new starting receivers. Now that isn't really the case this year. To me, the bigger problem, maybe the bigger concern with the Ravens during OTAs, thing they're going to be focusing on is the offensive line, where they lost 3 starters from a year ago. And they trust their ability to draft and develop guys, especially on the interior. Did use a 2nd-round pick on Roger Rosengarten. But this is a team that did not invest a ton otherwise this offseason to replace those guys. So, of course, we know quarterbacks can only be as good as the offensive linemen in front of them at times. Ravens have to look at these OTAs for guys who are going to be starting for them in week 1 of the upcoming season.
Listen, I want to go back quickly to you, Jeremy, before we break, because Acho brought it up, mandatory minicamp, all right? So that is a line of demarcation. Theirs begins on June 11th. Is there any indication at all that he won't be there?
It would be a pretty big surprise, Hannah, if he's not there. I expect him to be there based on what I've gathered. The Ravens expect him to be there. Next week, they got OTAs, 1 more session. If he's not there, it's still not the end of the world. They've been through this song and dance before. Lamar Jackson, when he had the contract disputes, missed some OTA time, was training out in Los Angeles. So he's staying healthy. He's staying fresh. He's still throwing. So as long as he's there June 11th, the Ravens are in good shape.
Yeah, and staying with Todd Monken, as you guys have said, career high in completion percentage and passing yards with him. So they go into their 2nd year together. All right, and we are all together and just getting started on NFL Live. Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb and others looking for that big